Hello everybody, how you doing? Tuesday night I replaced the pressure control valve on my car, and it's made a world of difference in how the car runs. It's quieter, it runs smoother when you're driving down the road. The squealing noise is completely gone, so that was the culprit. Air was leaking by the, I'm assuming leaking by the O-rings that surround the pressure control valve. And I'm really happy. I've also noticed my gas mileage. It was normally running around 17.4, 17.6. It's now around 21.8 to 22.4. Kind of fluctuates whether I'm doing a lot of stoplights or on the, maybe out on the main road. I did take a trip on Friday night of a little over 50 miles, and it just ran like a top. It's purring like a kitten, so I'm very happy. The only problem I have one problem. It's a small problem, and that is when I pull up to a stoplight and I'm sitting there at the light waiting, the car's idling, and it's idling extremely rough. That points to the idle air controller. And what I'm going to do today is attempt to clean that idle air controller. If the cleaning doesn't help, I've already checked on pricing. They have one locally in stock. It's $29. So worst case scenario, I'm going to spend $30 after tax. So let's go ahead real quick. I'll show you the IEC, and I'll get started pulling it out of the car. Right here is my idle air controller. It's right next to the mass airflow sensor. This is where air is forced into the motor. And what we've got, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. It has a Torx screw on this end. It has a Phillips screw on this end. And the reason why it has that is about 60,000 miles ago, I had this same issue. And my nephew came over and he was showing me, he's a fairly decent mechanic. He was helping me work on that, and the first thing he said is, man, we got to be super careful because this is all aluminum, and they put these steel screws in there, and when you start to take the screws out, sometimes the heads will break off of them because, the heat and cooling, I guess it really grips that screw tight. And sure enough, he puts the Torx on the bottom one, and it's a hand screwdriver. He's not using any type of a drill or a mechanically operated device. It was a handheld screwdriver. He starts to turn it, and pop, the head come off the screw. He had to get a screw extractor, extract the screw, then he had to retap the hole, and we found a Phillips head machine screw that we were able to use on the bottom to get this thing back together. And it's run perfect ever since. It's just, with me having all these problems lately, I did clean that throttle body there, and I've been doing a lot of cleaning, and I'm assuming that it's probably carboned up pretty good. Everything else was, because the car had been running so rough, and now that I'm cleaning out the motor and working on it to just sort of bring it back up to where it should be, I think it's one of the final components that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to get started, and I'll let you know how it goes. Well, thank goodness the screws released easily this time. I did not have any issue. And here is my idle air controller. This is what it looks like. And you can see that it is carboned up pretty bad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it outside. I'll go out the back garage door. There's a lot of carbon on the tip of it. And I'm going to go ahead and use that carbon choke cleaner, and I'm just going to spray it until it looks clean. Then we'll let it dry, and once it's dry, which shouldn't take long, it evaporates quickly, I'll put it back in the car and we'll test it out. I would go outside and like I did when I did the throttle body and show you guys cleaning it, but it is so windy out there. I think it would just, you can kind of hear the garage door creaking. I think it would just be impossible to hear because it would be nothing but wind noise on the mic. So I'll show it to you when it's clean. Take a good look at it, how it looks dirty. And then in a few minutes, we'll take another look at it, how it looks clean. I'm back and I've got it cleaned. You can kind of see a difference in how shiny it is. It's not dull. You can see some of the metal around the bottom there, the ring looks really good. You'll notice that I have a black O-ring on here now as opposed to the red one or pinkish one that was on there. I went ahead and replaced with a new O-ring because that one was kind of dry looking. So I'm ready to reinstall this in the car and take it for a test run, and hopefully this fixes it and I don't have to spend the $30. But if I do, I do, and I will. So let me get her started and I'll come back and we'll talk about how she runs. I've got everything buttoned back up under the hood. The car is idling right now in the garage, but I never had much of an issue when it was cold. What happens is after I drive it for a few minutes, the motor warms up, then I pull up to a stop sign or a stoplight or a parking lot, letting it idle, and it will get really rough and loud. So what I'm going to do is take a little test drive, around the town here, just warm the motor up, And by the time I get done, 5-10 minute drive is usually what it takes. About 10 minutes, 12 minutes to get to work. About that long, I'll notice it in half that distance. So we'll put a few miles on the car and see what happens. I'm sitting at a stoplight. This is a pretty long one, so I went ahead and pulled the phone out. And the motor is not running as rough at idle, but it's still not idling as smoothly as I would like it to. What I think I'm going to do, since everything in the car is computer controlled, it may take a couple of days to adjust and lean out. I'm going to drive it this week, see what happens, and if it's not better by, say Wednesday or so, this part is like 2 screws and a plug, and it's out and in. I'll go ahead and buy a replacement part and get it put in here, because it's still not right. So we'll see. Let's just see if it needs to lean out. Appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm going to let this video go, and I'm going to get back in the shop now and start doing some shop projects. So we'll talk to you again real soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.